Hey! Servus Freunde, my name is Jimmy Cage. I have reviewed almost 500 indie movies on the channel, but obviously and unfortunately I haven't seen all of those at the theater. But Jailer I have, and this was one hell of an experience. I have seen a few mass movies in the theater, but apart from Bahubali 2 and Pathan, this was the most packed. Rajinikanth fans really showed up here in Vienna, and it was loud. Very loud. And explosive, and thrilling, and so much fun. And while movies like Bahubali 2 and Pathan are also full of scenes of elevations, scenes that celebrate the hero, and not just the hero, but oftentimes even more so the actor or star who plays him, Jailer is on another level in that regard. These big commercial mass star vehicles are a genre of their own, and it's not so much about the characters, but about the people who play them and how they are presented to the audience. If you have never watched another movie these actors appeared in, if you aren't familiar with any of their faces, this must probably be one of the most baffling and strange movie experiences ever. Thankfully, at this point, I know them all from something. Not an expert or anything, and there are certainly countless references and in-jokes that I didn't get at all, but it's enough for me to get the appeal and to be completely taken over by this celebration-like style of filmmaking. And this is filmmaking that you don't really get from anything else. It's just not the same as if people are cheering when Iron Man or Captain America show up, or when John Wick is going on his rampage. This is more like when Michael Jackson appeared on the stage and people absolutely lost their mind just because of his presence. Honestly, I had an absolute blast with Jailer. But let's go with some basics first. It's the fourth film written and directed by Nelson. The only other one that I have seen is Doctor, which I liked fine, but the appeal in that one didn't completely translate for me. But this one did. Jailer is a Tamil language black comedy action film starring superstar Rajinikanth as the titular former jailer Muthuvel Tiger Pandyan, a father and grandfather who leads a normal domestic life, which is a fitting role for someone who is already 70 years old. But of course, it's a staple of movies like this that our protagonist is more than meets the eye. Why? Because he's a former ruthless jailer, but more so because he's played by Rajinikanth. And most of the time, that's enough reason in movies like this. These Indian mass movies can only laugh about terms like Mary Sue or Marty Stew if it's a man. Rajinikanth is the star, and there doesn't need to be much more explanation for his larger-than-life godlike abilities. To be fair though, Jailer isn't one of those films in which an aged hero is still doing most of the things in hand-to-hand combat. There are a few moments like this here, but most of the time, Muthu's superiority, his order, unfolds by his influence, cleverness, and perfect timing in each and every situation. So, I can believe that. The first half of Jailer unfolds as a dark comedic revenge film, after an evil cartel gets to Muthu's son Arjun, who is a policeman. The leader of the cartel is a Malayali named Varman, played by the great Vinayakan. The way the character is introduced, how his lair is shown, how his total command over his henchmen is depicted, and how absolutely perfect Vinayakan is playing him, it's so good. The cinematography throughout the film, done by Vijay Karthikanan, is really stylish. There are so many cool shots, interesting camera angles, powerful close-ups of items like Muthu's glasses or a machete that he picks up. Items that are kind of supercharged with meaning or just awesomeness. Or close-ups of faces, of Varman's or Vinayakan's piercing eyes. The camera work, the editing, how the shots are selected, how slow motion is used, and of course how the bombastic score by Anirudh is accompanying all of that, it all creates this celebration-like feeling. The movie can also be very violent and grotesque and of course so exaggeratedly cool, but because Nelson is also a man of dark comedy and oddball characters, there's always a touch of irony to it. Or sometimes not just a touch, but a full-fledged absurdity. Rajinikanth or Muthu is obviously at the helm here all the time, but he's accompanied by a whole posse of eccentric characters. Yogi Babu has to drive him around, he gets 4 assassins who constantly changes their disguises, a little person acts as his personal assistant, Unfortunately, I just don't know the name of the actor, but I have seen him before. There's also a really over-the-top psychiatrist who's really fun, and I assume it must be even funnier if you understand Tamil and are not like me dependent on the English subtitles. But just the delivery alone is really fun. And then there are of course the many cameos or special appearances. Spoiler alert if you don't know who's in it, but I assume people already know. Don't worry, I of course won't spoil where they show up, but all these appearances were presented so stylishly that it was just so much fun. And people at my cinema cheered like crazy, which was awesome. And again, the characters they play, there's really not that much to them. Their appearances are striking because of the costumes, the makeup, and the presence of these legendary actors. But the characters themselves don't have that much personality, which normally would certainly be an issue. But in a movie like this, it still works because it's just so larger than life, and the vibe is so upbeat and festive, while also being brutal and violent, of course. There's of course a lot of nostalgia at work here as well, but even for me, who has only seen some of their older movies, it was so wild and energetic that it was just contagious. You know what? I don't even have to say their names. Either you know already or you will be surprised. Now, while the first half is mostly following a super simple, actually more like paper-thin revenge plot, although with a lot of style and panache, the second half is more erratic. It becomes almost like a heist movie and it's a bit all over the place. But I felt Nelson still had a firm enough grip on his material and the shifts between comedy and action mostly worked. There's a big shootout sequence that felt almost out of place and a little bit baffling to me, but then there's a reveal to it that made it work in hindsight. We also get an extended sequence with Sunil, who plays this social media star and wannabe movie star Blast Mohan. This is where the comedy is the most blatant and in your face, but honestly I found it to be very funny. I also really enjoyed that the movie is like this big celebration of different people from different movie industries in India. Again, Rajinikanth is obviously at the helm and thankfully so because it's his film, but there are also some Malayalam moments in there, mostly through the villain Varman, some Hindi ones, some Kannada, and of course with Sunil, some Telugu stuff as well. What the movie doesn't really feature, like so many times, are any meaningful parts for women. I mean, it's actually nice that there's no necessity for any romance plot with Rajinikanth, but this is certainly a super male-dominated and oriented film. Honestly, I didn't care too much because for me watching Indian movies as an outsider, Jailer was still giving me a feeling and experience that I wouldn't get from anywhere else. But it's still very noticeable. I mean, it was awesome to see Tamanna Bhatia in her small role, but it's also a super male-gazy role. Now, an element that didn't really work for me is the movie's attempt to build some kind of meaningful emotional bond between father and son. We get an early song, but that one was just too schmaltzy for my taste and didn't really click well with the tone of the movie. And I had a similar problem with the ending. There's a reveal that's kind of cool, but the movie doesn't do enough with it. I thought it maybe should have twisted things around one more time so that the overall tone and vibe would be more coherent. But as it is, we have these awesome hero worship moments and a kick-ass finale, but then also kind of a super downer afterwards, which didn't really get me emotionally, but at the same time still kind of killed a little bit of that joy that came before. And then the music in the end credits is also rather sad, which I just felt didn't really fit. I mean, it fits with the last scene, but in my opinion it's not really what this movie needed. The music in general is pretty good, as expected from Anirudh. I hoped for a little bit more variety, but the music that plays every time Rajinikanth is being elevated is pretty spectacular and instantly gets you. As does the Hukum song or hymn, which is absolutely exemplary for this kind of filmmaking. Because the lyrics of that song are really not about the character at all, but really all about the actor and star. And maybe I should at least say a few words about the man that is superstar Rajinikanth. He is pretty damn fantastic, and the star and the movie and filmmaker who celebrate him as a star are totally in sync here. It's a spectacle to watch him and how the movie portrays him. Not that he really has to do that much, but what he does works so well. His presence is larger than life. His smile is charismatic as hell. And when we get a flashback with him, people just lost their mind and I can see why. He has a following for a reason. The movie is of course stuffed with scenes in which he kicks ass, and he doesn't have to literally kick ass to kick ass. It's just the way he commands the screen and scene. There's an early moment where two goons are following him to his car. The payoff? Wow! Then there's the totally badass pre-interval sequence at his place where we also get the Hukum song and are prepared for the celebration to get really started. Then there's the scene after the interval where he shows up outside at Varsham's place, where everyone is following him. What a goosebumps moment. As for the rest, you just have to experience for yourself. And this is a movie that has to be experienced in a movie theater. It's the experience you are coming for. As a movie, it's good, but it works in a completely different meta plane of existence that's not fully comparable with your normal movie or how storytelling usually works. Jailer as a movie gets a 7 out of 10, more like 7.4, but I don't do that. But as a theater experience and Rajinikanth celebration, it's probably more like a 9 out of 10. Oh, and in German I'd say, Jailer ist ganz große Rajinikanth Liebe. Nelson bringt sein Gespür für schwarzen und absurden Humor und präsentiert uns ein super stylisches Massen Spektakel der Extraklasse. Da ist es auch nicht so schlimm, dass der Film gerade in der zweiten Hälfte schon etwas zerfranst ist und der emotionale Unterbau nicht so ganz hineinpassen will. Alright, that's it like always. Comment below and let me know what you think about Jailer. You can hit me up on Twitter, Instagram, Letterboxd and also on Patreon simply at TheJimmyCage. And if you enjoyed this episode, please give me a thumbs up, share, subscribe, whatever you like. And make sure you hit that bell for all I have to tell.